Hello, everybody. Kevin J. Johnston here, Calgary Mayor-elect. I would like to talk to all of you about the fact that the tyranny just does not seem to end at all, period. I'm in Toronto now, as you all know. I am running for mayor of Calgary, as you know, and to my immediate side here is an amazing Calgarian man, Pastor Artur Pawlowski, who has a story to tell. So I'm not going to tell his story. He is. And Pastor Artur, I want to say thank you so much for being here today. Who are you? What do you do? And please tell everybody everything that they need to know about what's happening to you this weekend. Go.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for having me on your show. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this story people need to hear. Lots of Canadians are not aware of what's happening to Christians because, how would they? The mainstream media are very anti-Christian. They hate Christianity. They hate pastors. They hate clergymen because historically speaking, people like myself stood against tyranny. Many were murdered, burned on the stakes. So lots of bad things happened to vocal Christians opposing tyranny, dictatorship. You got to remember, I grew up under tyranny. I grew up under Soviet's occupation, under communism, socialism, dictatorship of Russia behind the Iron Curtain. So I grew up in a country that was occupied by this ideology. And this is one thing I would like to talk to Canadians. You got to study. You have to study and learn from the people that lived under those types of political powers, if you will, ideology. Most of Canadians have no clue about socialism and communism because for so long, Canada was this amazing country of freedom and milk and honey. It was so good here. Me, in other hand, we grew up in hell, if you will, under tyranny, when police could come into your home, beat you up without charges. There was this famous saying, give me a man and I will find something on that man, lawlessness. It didn't matter that Poland always had constitution and that was the highest law in the country. The communists do not care about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They do not care about constitution. They do not care about human rights. They do as they please, whatever suits them and their agenda. That's what is going to be forwarded. And we see this right now in this nation. So who am I? I'm just an ordinary man, a pastor that runs a number of churches and tries his best to feed the poor. Anyone, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you are a Christian or a Muslim, homosexual or heterosexual. If you stand in our lineup, that means you need help. That means you're hungry. We never ask if you're rich or poor. We just simply say, hey, anyone who needs our assistance, our help, is welcome to come. And you have been at our church services. You serve the poor, so you know how simple everything is. I always say to people, helping others is very simple. You just got to go out and just do it. Bring few more people. We are feeding thousands of people on the streets of Calgary, so you need a little bit more volunteers. But anyone is capable of doing something good to a fellow man, and that's exactly what I want to do.
Right. Now, I want you to explain to people how this works. All right. As a lot of people saw me on Facebook, on YouTube, on BitChute, and so on, you saw me working with your street church volunteers to feed the homeless, and I had a great time doing it. Thank you very much for that opportunity. But I need you to explain where this happens, why you selected the spot, and the trials and tribulations that come with that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Originally, we were in the parks all over the city. We started this in Tompkins Park on 17th Avenue and 8th Street. A little park, a number of homeless would come to us. At that time, we were called pizza preachers because we would bring 100, 150 pizzas and we would feed the homeless with pizzas. But it grew so big, we just thought, possibly could not keep up with the demand. So we started to introduce the grills because grill is the safest and the easiest way to feed the masses. Then we moved under the bridges in a park called Crack Cul-de-sac and Needle Park. in the city of Calgary. Those were two places where even police didn't show up. No one wanted to go over there because it was infested with drug dealers, with prostitutes, with drug addicts, with pimps. It was very violent. Murders were happening there all the time, beatings, rapes. So we decided that this is the worst place in the city of Calgary. So let's invade, if you will, this hell on earth, this darkness, with some hope. And that's exactly what we did. We set up a shop, like the media called it. So we brought a few speakers, we put music there and a barbecue, and we turned this horrible, evil place into something positive, something good. It was called Needle Park because the needles were literally everywhere. You were walking on top of needles. And it was very successful. Within 3 months, we took 600 people off the streets. We turned this hellish park into something beautiful, kind of a family oriented park. And people loved it until the media stepped in and the politicians. Before, the media were writing amazing stories. They were covering us, saying businessmen left the business and is taking care of the homeless, street church growing on the streets. Street church brings hope to the hopeless. Amazing stories until the politicians stepped in. And suddenly, from a hero, I have become a zero, a villain, an awful, horrible man that is invading private spaces with this horrible, horrible music and speaking. Until a few years later, we find out that the complaints that were coming against us were coming from, guess what? From City Hall, Drew Farrell's office. She is still a sitting alderman in the city of Calgary. And we discovered that the complaints that were coming against us were coming from her own office. She was asking people to complain about us because that's what those evil, sick, perverted communists do. They don't care about the truth. They will manipulate, they will fabricate anything they can. And that's exactly what happened to me. I came across those documents, and behold, I took them to the Minister of Justice. I showed him the
Really?
documents and I said, listen, at that time it was Jonathan Dennis, he was the Minister of Justice. And I said, listen, look at the documents. Those documents are proving a fraud. This woman, sitting councillor, is committing a fraud. She's incriminating a citizen, lying by deception, manipulation, asking people to complain where there was no problem. And he was shocked. I remember the meeting with him. He looked at the documents and he said, this is unbelievable. This is one of the highest levels of corruption I've seen. I will take care of it. And you know what he did? Of course, Kevin, he put it under the rag.
Right.
And
Archer, I just want to give people an example, though, of what you're talking about, because I've seen similar things happen here. We had a bylaw officer in the city of Mississauga on the street which I reside. A gentleman he pulled his fence off of his side yard so that he could move his large boat into the backyard and maintain it. He'd actually hit a floating picnic table. I saw the hole. He was actually showing me how big the hole was. All he wanted to do was keep his boat safe in his backyard. A bylaw officer came by, said that he had to fix his fence immediately and get the boat out of there and move it to a marina. There's no such bylaw at all. He threw them off the property, and rightfully so. They came back with a number of complaints about the boat. But then when we filled out the Freedom of Information form, we found out that the complaints had been registered by the bylaw officer herself, just a 5'2" woman who wanted to feel a little bit powerful. So the same thing is happening to you, but on a much grander scale. We're not talking about somebody with a broken fence or a deliberately dismantled fence and a damaged boat. We're talking about a man who's been dedicating more than a decade to feeding the homeless here.
21 years.
21 years, 2 decades. Oh my Lord, 2 decades. And we've got politicians creating false, fake documents to get rid of you because they don't like what you do. Now, in the last conversation you and I had, you discussed about the fact that homelessness was big business in Calgary. I need you to explain that to the audience at home, please. Go ahead.
And I think that's why they targeted me, because I started to talk about what's really going on. So homelessness, when you think about homelessness, you see those poor people on the streets and you feel sorry about them, and you see them outside of the shelters and you think to yourself, wow, those shelters are so awesome. and those shelters are asking for money, and I should chip in because they're so poor and they're helping the most vulnerable. But in fact, is opposite. This is how the system works. The system works by bringing all the cattle together. So, like cattle, more heads, more money. The government pays the shelters per head. So more heads, more money for the establishment, more money for the shelters. We have a drop-in center here in the city of Calgary. It's the biggest shelter, over 1,000 people a day, and they are receiving our taxpayers' money per person every single day. So more people, more money for them. I had an audience with the CEO of Drop-In Center. He has twice as big office as the mayor. He lives in a multi-million dollar mansion, drives $100,000 car. It's a big fat business. Every single day, from food bank, there is a huge truck load of food being delivered to drop-in center and other shelters as well. And yet every single day they're receiving millions of dollars from the government. Just to put it in perspective, because people, I don't think they're realizing how big is the scheme, the lie, the corruption. We're talking about $230 million a year to fight homelessness in the province of Alberta. So you got two major cities, Edmonton and Calgary, that are facing the problem of homelessness. Red Deer is not as much as big of a problem. So you got two major cities, $230 million designated to fight homelessness. And that's lots of money that never reaches the tables of the poor. If you would give me that money, I can build a house for every single individual that faces homelessness. It's absolutely ridiculous. So money is flowing. The advertisements on news, TV, and radio daily. Please give us, chip in, help save lives, and the rhetorics, right? Come and be a good Canadian, be a good Calgarian, and just give a little bit more to those amazing facilities. They're saving lives. But the truth is, they're receiving money from the government. They are receiving food from the food banks, food from private donors, and the money that they are generating through advertisement. And then comes Art Pawlowski with his church and the volunteers. We charge zero. No one, we don't charge taxpayers nothing. Government gives us zero. Everything is done by volunteers. I don't have a salary. I do this as a volunteer. I do this because I love people. I love my God. I'm a Christian. And in my Bible, it says, feed the poor, take care of the orphans and the widows. So that's what I do. I actually believe in the Bible, and I do what my Lord Jesus Christ was doing. He fed the poor, he healed the sick, he brought hope to the hopeless. So that's what I do. And I'm so successful. I'm so successful that within 3 months, I'm taking 600 people off the streets. Suddenly, someone somewhere started to lose lots of money.
Oh,
So,
yes.
we have this famous saying in Poland, if you don't know what this whole thing is all about, it's about money. And from a hero, suddenly the media turned on me and they vilified me. I was actually called worse than a syphilis, believe it or not, because you can cure syphilis, but you cannot cure this city from Art Pawlowski. I was vilified. I was lied about. They manipulated the story. They would just cut little clips and manipulate the story to turn me into some kind of a crazy person, while I just wanted to feed the poor and give them a little bit of hope. Nothing else. I never wanted to fight with the police. I never wanted to fight with the government. I wanted them to leave me be. Just let me do my job. I'm good at it. I can organize events and different things to help those most vulnerable people.
Right.
Half of them are mentally ill, and they just don't know what's going on. They just want to be fed. And media started to turn on me and the politicians. So what happened to me? The police started to show up, threatening me with the tickets. Bylaw officers started to show up saying, well, everything I'm doing is illegal, actually. It was legal before, but now it's illegal. And I said, sorry, I've read the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and I can do what I'm doing. The bylaws are a lower law. The highest law in the country is the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a part of the Constitution. that I wish we had, like United States. And I disagreed with the officers. And you know what happens when you disagree with them? They bring more friends. And that's exactly what happened. My record is 33 officers, 11 cruisers, towing truck, and lawyers, politicians at my church. I had SWAT team, believe it or not, called on me because someone said that there is a group of people with weapons threatening the public. So I had SWAT team. I had even soldiers coming to our events. It's just insane. Tickets started to come. It was a gong show, international gong show. I had reporters following me just to try to find any dirt on me. They couldn't because I left business. I was making $5,000 a day. I had an office in Bankers Hall. I left that lifestyle. I'm not
Bankers
doing.
Hall, downtown Calgary.
Yes, the most
That's a
prestigious
very
place.
prestigious place.
Yes, it was. I owned a magazine at that time. I had a development company. I had building company. I was building houses for millionaires. I had 7 houses, properties, sports cars. I mean, I was doing good, and but the thing is, Kevin, I was very selfish man at that time. I was minding my own business, and I didn't care about the poor. I didn't care about anyone. It's just I wanted to have more. When my son was born my life changed. Suddenly, I realized I don't want to live like this. I have a son. I want to have more children. I don't want to be this selfish, proudful buffoon that just lives for himself. And I changed my life. Or God changed my life totally from a businessman that was selfish, arrogant, proudful to a preacher that is just trying to save another life. And I did saved thousands of lives, not just few, not 5, 10. I have stories after stories. But going back to the persecution, they don't take very well a no for an answer. So I started to have more tickets, 7 tickets a day, for example, summons to courts, arrests. I was arrested so many times. I don't remember. I say 10 times, but I have been detained many times, which is you're under arrest, but they don't take you anywhere until they release you. I received so many summons that I had to go over 100 times, over 100 court cases within 10 years. So they took me for a spin for 10 years. Crazy. Never knew if I'm going to come back home. My son would quite often come through the window. My wife told me that a few years later, and I started to cry because I didn't know how hard it was for my wife and for my kids to go through this ordeal. He would look in the window when I was packing a truck to feed the poor, not to commit crime, not to do robberies, not to steal, kill, and destroy, just to pack a truck with food and clothes for the poor. And my son would look through the window and turn to my wife, his mom, and say, "Is daddy going to be arrested again?" I mean, it was unbelievable. It was so hard, court after court. I spent more time in the courtroom, sometimes 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks in a court every single day, defending my rights to feed the poor, telling the judge and the crown, what is wrong with this whole picture? I want to feed the poor. I want to save lives. Help me.
Right.
Help me.
Well, Archer, I want to make a comment on the courts because I mean, you know that the province of Ontario has put me through the courts 143 times now in the last 3.5 years, and they're hoping to do more. I've got some notifications that all the hearings that have been postponed this year will be moved to next year. So what I can say here is that, and I'll get your opinion on this. The courts are truly not interested in upholding the law. There's the occasional judge who's good.
Yeah.
There's the occasional judge who wants to have their name on new case law that gets written or write new case law. But then the rest of them seem to want to perpetuate the actual system itself. Judges in Ontario make over $200,000 a year. So they want to protect their salary by making sure the courthouses are always full. How do you do that? A man like you, a man like me, you make them come back to court 5 or 6 times a month. If you do this to 10,000 people, you're guaranteed business. Now, the government's flipping the bill for it. The taxpayers are paying, but they're guaranteeing themselves that business. It's a great business model for those who run the court. It's a terrible model, though, for justice and for the rest of us. So I want to ask you then, First off, your opinion. I'll let you talk about how the Calgary courts work, but I also want to get your thoughts on where you think the Calgary courts are trying to take your case. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I have been treated very unfairly by the politicians, by law, and police officers. That's the first thing. But I was treated very fairly by the court system. I have to say, for example, a Judge Fracham, during the trial, he actually said that the police was corrupted, that they were liars, and he didn't believe a word they were saying, which is a shocking statement. It's a public statement. You can read it for yourself. Judge Fracham, a man that listened to my story, looked at the evidence, and basically said that the police and the bylaws did a terrible thing. They broke the law. But unfortunately, there are no consequences to those officers. Actually, in fact, one of them was a supervisor for bylaw officer, for bylaw enforcement agency. And he lied during the proceedings. He manufactured, he faked a document, lied in that document, was proven that he lied. And he was asked during the proceedings, officer, are you not concerned that everything pretty much you said is a lie and the document is false? And he said, no, I'm not. I'm not. He said it in front of the judge. He said in front of the crown prosecutor, in front of the crowd of people, reporters. But reporters, of course, do not report on those things. And you know what happened to him? Andrew Bissett is his name. Andrew Bissett. You can Google this devil.
Andrew Bissett, is that what it is?
Yes.
Andrew Bissett. Okay, you go ahead and talk. I'm actually going to look him up right now. You go ahead.
That's the bylaw officer that was, after he lied for the establishment very well, he was promoted. He didn't lose his job. He received a better job within the mafia of a corporation called City of Calgary. So that will happen. But the courts, the judges were very fair. I have to admit, they were very respectful. They were very fair. And they released me. They vindicated me, and I was set free to continue to feed the poor. So I thank you so much, judges, for doing this. Except few that were wicked. Most of them were very respectful, very good. So that was going on for 10 years. I faced criminal charges, civil courts, Queen's Bench. I fought with the Attorney General. I fought with the Minister of Justice, a number of premiers, 2 mayors, and a number of councillors. All of them, with the help of the media, the mainstream devilish lying propaganda machinery in Canada, wanted me in jail. And they were so surprised that those judges would let me go back to the streets and save lives, that they were absolutely disgusted. So what they did, after I was winning court case after court case, they stopped covering anything I do. Art Pawlowski, Street Church, Feeding the Poor just simply does not exist anymore. That's it. In front of the City Hall. So I told you at the very beginning, we were under the bridges in the most horrible, hellish parks in the city of Calgary. When the police officers started to block the streets, coming with a huge numbers, 30 officers, 10 cruisers, making a show, handcuffing me, putting me in a cruiser, keeping me there in a car for a display for an hour, almost breaking my arms, threatening me with strip naked search and rapes and all kinds of different things. I didn't bow. I said, you can do whatever you want to do to me. I'll not quit. You have to kill me. So they hired, I'm not saying the government, but they hired twice assassins on my life. And both of times I was saved by a miracle. I'm sitting in front of you here by a miracle. God saved me because my life is not over yet. He wants me to do more and expose those corrupted politicians more. But they are serious people. They're very serious.
You're preaching to the choir here, but people at home who may not know you and I, in reference to what politicians are capable of. Yes, I mean, Bonnie Crombie hired thugs to assault me, and it cost me my right knee. I had to have my knee completely rebuilt because Antifa was hired by Bonnie during a mayor run to assault me. So yes, I fully understand. And when you're mentioning people like this Andrew Bissett, is this the guy here, perchance?
Yes.
That's him. Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is a bylaw officer, as you mentioned, who lied on the stand and was rewarded by the city of Calgary with a better job. I'm going to
Yes.
read this out from LinkedIn. Andrew Bissett, he calls himself a strategist for the city of Calgary. And what he says here is that he is the manager of animal bylaw services up to April of 2013. Then he was the coordinator of animal and bylaw services prior to that, 2011. So now, from 2013 to present day, he is the leader of strategic planning. Now, I need to explain that, and I'm going to give the microphone back to you. Strategic planning means this. Cities in Canada are corporations. They have to make money. The first duty of city council, you might think, is to serve you, the public, but in reality, it's to make money for the city. They don't care how they do it. They steal it. They'll bribe people. They'll threaten people. They issue illegal fines. That Andrew Bissett is someone who was rewarded with a higher paying job higher up the rank because he attempted to steal from you. He attempted to sabotage you. And for those of you out there who think it doesn't work this way in Canada, I'm telling you that it's the only way that it works. The more illegal stuff you do working for the city that interferes with enemies of the mayor or enemies of city council, the further up you climb, the faster. Arthur, go ahead.
Yeah, this particular man was hunting me, literally hunting me. I'm not exaggerating. He would show up at every church service with cameras, with pictures, writing notes. He was hunting me for years. About 3-4 years, this particular man was in charge of hunting me down, threatening my life, threatening my wife, threatening my children. They would come with a big force, number of cruisers with their lights on in front of my house to show the neighbors that here, look, here is a villain. This is a gangster. We're coming to crack on your neighbor. Art Pawlowski is a bad villain, and that's why we are here. And they would keep their lights on while I was feeding the homeless on the streets of Calgary. They would come to my home and they would come to intimidate my wife and my children, threatening them while the husband and the father was feeding the poor. So the level of corruption was unbelievable. It was going on for 10 solid years. Sometimes the city of Calgary hired 7 lawyers to fight us, and it cost them millions upon millions of dollars. Unfortunately, it cost me, I had to remortgage my house 7 times just to keep paying for the bills and surviving this ordeal. I lost most of my friends, most of my supporters, business people that used to support us, because unfortunately, Canadians are believing still, I know it's a shock, and it's a shock to me, they still believe the mainstream media, how they were portraying me. Now, this is a guy that is a lawbreaker. You don't want to support him. This is a guy that is evil. He just doesn't respect the authority, which is absolutely not true. I do respect the authorities. I am a law-abiding citizen until the law breaks the highest law, which is God's law and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. When I see an officer doing what his job is, I applaud him. Good job, officer. I thank you so much for saving our lives, for protecting us, to serve and protect. When I see a judge doing his job, when I see a politician doing a good job, I will clap for them and I'll say, good job. But if I will see corruption, if I will see them breaking the law, their own law that they swore to uphold, I'm going to be very vocal and I'm going to challenge that. And that's what I was doing. They didn't like that. So they took me on this spin craziness, and they wanted to destroy me financially. They wanted to eliminate any support that I would have, including my friends, intimidating my friends. And listen to this one. I came across a document. I know some people will not believe this stuff because it sounds like some kind of Italian Cosa Nostra mafia type of situation, but it's true. I can show you the documents. I came across a document that is called top secret document from the city of Calgary. And behold, on top of it is my name, Arthur Pawlowski. And then you got those lines like you see in the movies when CIA or FBI is investigating terrorists or a mafia people, known associates, family members, members of the church, and so on. It's number of pages. And so the mayor, a Muslim mayor, let me add, a Muslim mayor, he creates a top secret document on Christians in the city of Calgary. Can you imagine that? A Muslim mayor creates a top secret document on Christians. Let this sink in a little bit.
I've been following Nahid Nenshi for quite some time. I've come to understand him as a radical, not in the Islamic groups. He's not that. What he is a radical anti-Christian, anti-Canadian guy. He does not like Canadian culture in any way, and I don't think he likes the fact that there are Judeo-Christian values that came well before any other religion that was here. Yeah. Those are the values that built the country, and he is dead set against that. He has his reasons for it, and regrettably, just so everybody at home knows, I'm under court order right now not to speak ill of Islam. So I can't actually tell you everything that I know about this man yet until I'm able to get another court hearing to have that condition removed. So, but what I will say, and this I can say this, Nahid Nenshi is a vile human being who absolutely adores power. I've also come to know this man as having a fragile ego. It is very easy to upset this man. It's very easy to get under his skin. Every bit as easy as getting under the skin of Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie, who is a narcissist with a weak, fragile ego. Both those mayors that I've now had the displeasure of running against are extremely fragile, evil, crooked people. I get it. I've seen what Bonnie Crombie's done to me, and I've seen what he has done to you. Archer, we're down to about, say, 15 minutes to go here. So what I'd like to now find out is you, and I'll summarize for the people that came in late, you feed the homeless. You do it right across the road from Calgary City Hall front step. You set up a hot plate. You set up tables. What you do is you make sure that homeless folks and people who are down on their luck, they get a high amount of calories. So you've got cookies and crackers. You've got hot soup. You have hot meat. You've got meat on bread. So when someone is done eating a meal with you, they're somewhere around 2,000 calories. And I noticed that because you're only allowed to do it a couple of times per week, people will load up and put sandwiches in their bags. And I feel terrible that somebody has to load up on carrying sandwiches around in a garbage bag or a grocery bag for days just so they can have one meal a day. You have now been threatened again by Calgary City Hall with apparently a great deal of punishment should you feed the homeless this Sunday like you always do. Please tell the public about that.
Yeah, let's go back a little bit. Why we end up in front of City Hall? Because like I said, the police was arresting me all the time. So what I said to them, I said, if you will come and arrest me again or threaten me with arrest again, I'm going to move the entire church from under the bridge in front of the mayor's windows for the whole world to see what you're doing to us. So the next week came and the police showed up again. They threatened me with an arrest, and I said, fine, I'm moving the whole thing in front of the mayor's window. But I intended this to be only for one day because I thought surely if the mayor is going to see this, he's going to make some kind of a deal, a restitution, if you will, with this whole affair. But that didn't happen. So the media came to me and all the cameras were rolling and they said, what are you going to do now? The mayor ignores you. And I said, well, see you next week. And that was like 10 years ago. So that's the story why we are in front of Calgary City Hall. We want the people to see what really is going on with homelessness, with the poor, with the abuse of power. And that's how it stands to this day. So what happens is we're feeding the homeless people 4 times a week. When the pandemic, this COVID-like came, the city shut us down with big threats. I had 12 officers coming to me. Some of my parishioners were physically assaulted by the police. I received $1,200 ticket with the threat of $1 million, another ticket. So they shut us down. We started to protest this craziness. And the restrictions were lifted and we were back in feeding the homeless. Now, And you're right. The mayor is a power-hungry dictator. He wants tyranny. He wants to act like a king in a castle. He treats City Hall as his private residence. He declared a state of emergency and said that everything non-essential is pretty much shut down. So feeding the poor, according to this man and the councillors, feeding the homeless people is a non-essential service. Therefore, I am to stop doing this evil of feeding the poor. If I will not, they threaten to come and throw a book at me this
Sorry,
Sunday.
repeat that. Did you just say that the mayor of Calgary told you that feeding the homeless in the freezing cold is not an essential service? Is that what he told you?
Well, he used, I'll read it to you.
Please, I have to hear this. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm floored.
So he doesn't talk to me. He's terrified of me. I had a number of conversations with him, but he is absolutely terrified of me.
Oh,
When he
hey,
sees me, he runs. I
he
mean,
runs.
literally,
Remember,
he
he saw
runs.
me and he ran and hid in his office and then told security that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
You
this
know,
guy.
I mean, it's unbelievable. We used to call those people public servants, but now they only serve themselves. Let me just add something to you. From the very beginning of this COVID nonsense, do you see politicians receiving $900 for 2 weeks paychecks? Do
No,
you
they're getting
see
their
them?
full check.
They got the full check. They don't care about the lockdowns. They don't care about losing businesses. They don't care about not having enough to feed the kids. No, they don't care. They get every penny. You know, if there is going to be a great reset, I say, Justin Trudeau, give up your millions. Mayor, give up your salary. Just live on $900 like the rest of us. Okay. And councillors, stop receiving paycheck. And if we are in this all together, like they say, let's really be in this together. So let's all of us receive the same amount, but that's not happening because they
No.
are not interested in the well-being of citizens. They're only interested in themselves. So I received a letter from Keith Parker. He is the manager, Calgary Parks, City of Calgary. And then I received another one from Cheryl Townsend, Inspector, Center City, Calgary Community Standards, Community Services, pretty much telling me we are getting ready. If you break the law, we will come heavy force. The law department is already consulted, and we are waiting for your move. If you will, that's how they say, should I violate the outline rules, they're coming with a heavy hand. And here is an interesting thing, Kevin. The wording, I always look into the wording because it tells you a lot about who that person is.
Yeah.
And listen to this wording. That's how they end their letter. We are happy. This is from the Center City Calgary Community Standard Community Services that is already in contact with the law department, police, and the bylaws and the health inspectors. They say, we are happy to work together on this initiative. I am being referred as an initiative, and they're coming all together to work. They're happy to work together to shut me down, to destroy me, to destroy the poor and the homeless, to deny the poor people their right to receive necessities of life. Last time the lockdown happened, my parishioners died. You know that, Kevin? When they shut down the church, we feed mentally ill. Half of them are mentally ill. Many are sleeping under the bushes, bridges, somewhere. They refuse to go to the shelters because the shelters are so corrupted and the abuse of power is unbelievable over there. So they decided to be outside. It's their choice. But they're coming to me to receive the necessities of life. And when they shut us down in end of March, beginning of April 2020, some of them didn't make it. Some perished. Some died. And, you know, I'm thinking if I would maybe push a little bit harder, maybe if I would just get arrested and do something, maybe those people would be alive. I'm not going to allow them, those devils, those bureaucrats, to do this again. I'm fighting for lives. I'm feeding the poor. And if you don't like the way I'm doing it, help me to do this better. tell me how
Right.
to do it so I can continue taking care of those people. If I'm not essential services, no one is in this country. Feeding
This
the
is a
poor.
matter of ego. This has nothing to do with concern about anything. This is about ego. He has to make sure that people believe in his lockdown. He needs people to believe that the virus is real and it's going to kill people. And if you defy that, you are going to get the same treatment as what just happened yesterday to Adamson Barbecue in Toronto. I was there. You can go to my Facebook page, Real Kevin J. Johnston, or my BitChute channel, which is kevinjjohnston.com, and you can watch it. Archer, at one point there, the police decide to really come in full force, and they brought in 5 fully mounted police officers with horses. Now, the
Yeah.
horses, these cops didn't know how to ride the horses properly. The horses were not controlled. They almost trampled people. And then 5 more showed up. So in total, I counted 61 police officers, but then later on we found the real count was over 85 plus the mounted units. There were more than 60 police cars choking up the street. And then after they
That's
arrested
crazy.
2 people, they arrested the owner, Adam Skelly, but they also arrested Canadian journalist Michael Arana. I watched the cops assault him and drag him in. They tied his feet together, they bound his hands, and they wrapped his face up in cloth, all to intimidate us. They're going to do the same thing to you because Naheed Nenshi has an equally fragile ego as Doug Ford in Ontario and Toronto Mayor John Tory. If you do not pay attention or listen to what they're saying, the rest of the public catches on to the fact that they've been lied to, and then civil disobedience and defiance becomes key. Then the lawsuits start coming in. And no matter what law Ontario Premier Doug Ford wants to write that says you can't sue us, there's going to be a way to sue. And you don't just sue Doug Ford. You sue every member of his cabinet. You sue every member of city council. You sue their families. You find their financial supporters and you sue them. You drag everybody into courts, use their own system against them, and bankrupt them like they've tried to do to you. And I feel horrible that you've had to mortgage your home to pay legal bills. That's unacceptable on every level. Archer, people, I want you to talk for the next 5 minutes, maybe even 6 or 7. Tell people where you are going to be and how they can come and support you. Go.
You know, Kevin, I grew up under communism. We had to run on a boat to Greece. We spent about 5 years in Greece. We applied for the papers to come to emigrate to Canada. And I will never forget the meeting in embassy in Athens when the officer was telling me how amazing Canada is. And they want young people with their businesses. I used to run a very good big business in Greece, my father as well. So they said, bring your money, bring your business to Canada. Because you will never be hunted down here. You will never be persecuted for your faith. It's a free country and it's a good country for families and to raise kids. And now I got 3 kids. I have a home here. This is my country. I love Canada. It's a beautiful country, amazing. There's still amazing people living in this country. And they're doing this to us. And I say, we have to resist this. We have to stand up because if we don't do it now, we won't have tomorrow. So I decided if I am to go down, let it be with a big splash. And I want to ask all of you, if you can come, if you're living somewhere close to Calgary, come Sunday, 1 p.m. in front of the City Hall, just like always. I'm going to be feeding people and giving them hope. I'm going to feed anyone that will stand in the lineup. Like I said, I don't care where you come from. I don't care about your color of your skin. If you're standing in a lineup, you're welcome to come. That means you need my help. You need assistance. I gladly pray with you. I will give you a message of hope, especially during this time of crisis. If you look historically, clergymen were always in the front line of every conflict, war zone. We are always the frontline workers. People need spiritual guidance. They need hope. That's my job, is to give them hope and to feed them if they're hungry, spiritual and physical food. My job is to be there with the people, for the people, just like the politicians should be, but are not. They're nowhere to be found. They're hiding. They're cowards and they're liars. They're deceivers. I am there with the people and I'm risking my own life just to be with the people. Most of the homeless people have all kinds of diseases. They are sick. But if I'm not going to be there for them, who is going to be there for them? If not pastors, if not priests, then who is going to be for the people? So in a time of crisis, the church is needed more than ever. So I want to ask you, pastors, leaders, priests, bishops, Christians, come, because if they came for me and are coming for me this Sunday, they will come for you. Don't kid yourself. That's what I said to you 15 years ago. I said they came for me, 2005, officers armed to the teeth, 33 officers came to shut me down. They came for me, and I said that to you 15 years ago. They came for me, they will come for you. That's just how the system works. If evil is not stopped, it will grow, it will get bolder. The darkness will take over everything. So we have to bring the light. 1 p.m. in front of Calgary City Hall, Olympic Plaza, I'm going to set up barbecues. Again, it's the safest way to feed people. I have a washing station. I'm doing everything I can to please the health department. I will not prevent people from wearing masks. If you want to come and wear a mask, I know it's useless. We know it's useless, but no one will be persecuting you for doing whatever you think is right for you. But the same way, I don't want the government to force me to wear something that I know it's not working and is actually compromising my immune system. I'm a strong, healthy guy. My family is healthy. We don't need to be isolated or masked, muzzled. You do that to sick people. If they're sick, yes, for sure, isolate the sick people, not the healthy. This is, historically speaking, this has never been done like this. You don't isolate healthy population, you isolate the sick. So here's how it's going to look like.
Go.
I'm bringing music 1 o'clock. That's how we do it always. The music is going to be playing. Larry Heather is going to be singing. I'm bringing barbecues, food, and everything else I will get for the poor, including clothes. And I'm going to feed them, whoever wants to come. And I'm going to pray for them if they need prayer. And I'm going to preach to them if they want to hear preaching. No one is forced to be there, no one is forced to stay there. If you don't feel safe, keep walking. That's okay. But here is my challenge to the patriots and to the lovers of this country. If the marijuana store can open, if the liquor store
Oh, yeah.
can be open, if the Walmart, those big giants, if we are to shut down something, if we are to shut down the economy, if we're to shut down businesses, I say to you, let all of them be shut down. Okay? You want to shut something down, shut the whole country for 2 weeks. I can live with that. Everyone is treated equally then. But that's not the case today. The politicians are receiving their salary. They don't care. They have, their life is protected. Their kids are well fed. It's us that are hurting. It's the middle class that is hurting. It's the small businesses like the gentleman in Ontario. We are hurting. We are hurt. The politicians are not hurting. The union jobs are not hurting. They're getting their salaries. The target is us. And shut down the Walmarts, shut down the Costco's, where thousands of people go every single day. There are huge lineups right now. People are touching each other, they're mingling with each other, and that's okay. And I say to you, if you're shutting down the economy, shut everyone or leave us be. Open the churches, open the restaurants. Let us, citizens, take care of us. And don't lie about the hospitals being overcrowded, because that's a lie. I have doctors, friends, and they say we can't speak about it because we will lose our jobs. I have nurses, friends. They say it's a lie. It's a lie, but we can't say anything because then we are on the streets. It's fake. It's lying. They're power grubbing devils.
They
And
are.
I say, patriots, come and support me, because if you don't, they're going to do terrible things with me, and you're next.
That's correct. Everybody, there it is on the bottom of the screen for you. It's 1 p.m. right across the road from Calgary City Hall. If you look directly across the street, there's a concrete stairway That is where the setup is going to be. You can't miss it. Archer's been doing this for years in the exact same spot. If you need to know what the area looks like, simply go to my BitChute channel, kevinjjohnston.com, and watch the video where you see me handing hot sandwiches to homeless people there. That is exactly where it's going to be. That's 1 p.m. Sunday, November the 29th. The police are probably going to be there in full force, according to the orders put forth by, well, Naheed Nenshi. We call him Knothead Nenshi. He is a criminal as far as I can see, and I wouldn't trust the guy with anything. I wouldn't trust the guy with a nickel, if you want the truth. This is what we are all tolerating here in Canada, but we got to stop tolerating this and start fighting it. Archer, we've got a minute left. What's your final word? Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin, for covering this. Thank you, Patriots. If you would like to support us in any way, shape, or form, you can send me in transfer art@streetchurch.ca, or you can go to the website. There is a donate button over there as well, using PayPal. I will need your help. I have to get a lawyer. I'm sure that they're going to come with a big force, and they want to hand me some tickets. I need a lawyer to fight this. And at this moment, I cannot afford one by myself. They almost destroyed me financially. So if you can chip in, please do, and show up. Come, protect us. If the church falls, if the feeding of the poor is non-essential, then they will come for you. There's nothing else essential except big corporations that are well protected by those thugs, because that's what they are.
Well, think about it, Archer. Like, you made a good point there. If they deem homeless people non-essential, it's just a matter of time before they go to the lower class neighborhoods or the poorer neighborhoods, or even then moving into the lower middle class, then the middle class. They'll just work their way right up until there's only those left who can afford to play in the same arena, in the same sandbox. So if you don't come out and help Archer with this, he's right. It's just a matter of time before they come to you. And look, you have to make sure you put me in office. You got to make me the mayor of Calgary this year. I'm the only one who's going to work with people like Archer to make sure the homeless are fed, to make sure that everybody who's in the lower income brackets can keep their homes, keep their apartments, and keep eating. This is what politicians need to do to make sure their cities succeed. It's almost like the current guy, Naheed Nenshi, wants the city to crash. It's like John Tory in Toronto wants the city to crash. Bonnie Crombie's made it clear in Mississauga she wants the city to crash. We can't let Canada fall, because really, where else can we go? Archer, thank you for being here. And that's, I'll put it up one more time for everybody here. I want you all to see at the bottom of the screen. Let me just get it for you. There we go. That's 1 p.m. Sunday, November 29th, across the road from Calgary City Hall. That's Pastor Archer there. I know him. All of you who know me know I tell the truth. This man's the real deal. He's solid. Please go support him the way the Torontonians supported Adamson Barbecue yesterday. Thank you for being here, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Be blessed.
All right. Thank you. And that is Pastor Archer, everybody, from streetchurch.ca. We want to make sure that each and every one of you out there is aware of who he is, what he does, and why I respect the man so much. So please be there Sunday. Bring your video cameras. You're all journalists. If you have one of these, you saw me cover Adamson Barbecue yesterday with this for 2 hours straight. You saw another further 300 plus people doing the exact same thing with their cell phones. People found any cameras they could, and they were snapping photographs and taking video footage. I saw cameras out there that still used film. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So many people are angry that they are digging out cameras that are sitting in their closets now for years, dusting them off and bringing them out. All of you need to get out there and support this man, because if Pastor Archer falls, there's right now no other church groups out there who are assisting him in any way. And that means that our main feeder of the homeless will be gone. People are going to start dying in the streets immensely. They're going to be dying everywhere in the streets. Calgary's winters are cold. Let's not mince words here. When Chinooks come down, the city is great. It's +1. When the Chinook goes away, it goes back down to -40. It's not an easy place to be outdoors at the best of times. But imagine being outdoors 24 hours a day for the entire winter. This is unacceptable on every level. I want to thank you all for being here. Please spread this video around, and please be at City Hall in Calgary, 1 p.m. this Sunday. I will see you all very soon. I love you all, Canada.